I knew I liked girls at like 5, 6 years old. I knew it. I was like humping at 5 years old. I literally remember it. Hey, what up? My name is Mr. Marcus. Born in Pomona, California, representing LA to the fullest. You are watching Cali Faces. Thank you so much. Proud to be in this motherfucker. Represent. Growing up in Pomona, I never knew I wanted to be a porn star. That was not on my mind. Actually, when I heard NWA, it instantly made Pomona like come together. Like I wanted to be gangster rap. That's what I wanted. I didn't even know what that was about. I just knew I wanted to be hard like them. And and then there was a mixture of that and Ready for the World. So I had NWA in one hand and Ready for the World in the other. And then Jodeci was like the blend of those two. So I think that little triangle, that's what kind of created this whole idea of I wanted to perform or entertain. I found a style that I liked. It was a nigga that can listen to R&B and still be hard. You know what I mean? I guess that had a lot to play into like how women responded and started that drive towards maybe I could be a porn star. Because when I saw a magazine, when I saw this magazine and it was like this brother and this girl, and there was a magazine where I just said I wanted to be a part of that shit. And I don't know, it started when I was about 16. I knew that they had an event in Las Vegas. It's called the AVN Awards, and I knew that that's where they would be. So I figured, I don't know, just straight confidence too, I guess, like I'm gonna go meet these motherfuckers. I see it this day. I go there now and I see the same type of dude showing up. Like, I'm gonna be a porn star. I can see it. They come and talk to me and I'm like, man, you sound like I did 20 years ago. You don't even think of it. You're just kind of ignorance too, because you don't know what's gonna happen. You just feel like this nigga, you know what I mean? You feel like this NWA, Ready for the World, Jodeci hybrid motherfucker, and girls like that type of dude. So, those types of dudes. I remember my first movie. My first movie was maybe, everything kind of happened simultaneously. And it was, I met this girl named Heather Lee, and she was with a boyfriend named Ron Hightower. Ron Hightower went on to direct How Do You Want It, 2 parts, How Do You Want It, represent. So, there's the DNA right there. So that nigga she says to that nigga, well, no, she says to this nigga, Heather Lee says to me, are you in the adult business? And I was like, no. She was like, would you like to be? And I was like, yes. And she looked straight at him, and Ron, she said, honey, you should give him one of your cards. Little did I know, Ron was directing, producing back then a series called Dark Alleys. Dark Alleys was like just some straight up black on black sex in a hotel room with young girls and cool dudes. And it was like one of those things where perfect time for me to come along. Because it was just like, that was what he ultimately ended up offering. But she, later in the day, gave me her card too. And she said, call me. She gave me a little wink and shit, and I was just like, gotcha. So I called her up, of course, called her before I called him. And she was like, you should come kick it with me. So I came and kicked it with her, and she actually called me to my first set. And it was in Palm Springs. She hit me up like a day or 2 before. She was like, hey, would you like to do your movie with me? And I was like, sure. She was like, come down to Palm Springs, boom, boom, boom. It's gonna be cool. And I was like, that's all she told me. I was like, cool. We had that type of relationship, drove down to Palm Springs. I get there, and 3 of the most famous porn stars show up. I'm like, oh shit. I'm on the set. I'm on the real deal. And they asked me to go sit in the car with them, smoke some weed. I was like, smoking some weed with them. Never done that before. And then we get on set, and Heather's there. And Heather's like, you showed up, I'm so glad. She was like, just do what we've been doing. I was like, cool. So I go to, that was my first scene, man. How many movies have I been in since that first one? Because I had a long drive after I left Palm Springs to say, do I ever want to do that again? I was like, I don't know if I want to do this in front of everybody, especially when you have to. All right, so but since then, like 1,500. Since then, 1,500. I went really hard for a lot of years. Man. I was just going. It was like I wanted to do as many as I could. I wanted to make as many as I could. Favorite movie is probably The World's Luckiest. I say that because it's like rare. The World's Luckiest was 101 black girls. It was supposed to be 101 black girls. They couldn't find 101 black girls in the business. They got to like 33 and they were like, okay, we gotta start bringing in some white girls. So many. It was only 4 guys have done it, and actually one of them killed himself. Rest in peace. But he was just crazy, anyways. But just a little. It was just kind of like 4 guys who did it. We're all crazy. We all got a little something wrong with us. Because no man should ever do that. Is it weird people stare at me? When niggas walk up like, hey nigga, watch your shit. Brianna such and such. I'm like, Brianna, remember? Tennis court? Over there? Man, nigga, killed it. You still talk to him? No, I don't talk to him. That's my one. Alright then. That is, never gets old. Never gets old. Because I love it. That's LA. For me, that's LA. You know, I wouldn't be right. I just didn't say something. So, I like that. Somebody said to me a long time ago, they said, you got good fame. You got enough where people know you, but not so much where everybody does. And it was like, yeah, because I like to hang out and kick it. You know, I love this fucking state, this city. I want to just go in peace, you know what I mean? And I see a lot of other people do too. So, you know, it ain't even about that shit. Just, you got love, that's love, you know what I mean? I see people, I you know, recognize, I know, like, you know, I see motherfuckers all the time where I'm like, hey, what up? You know, I'm a fan, you feel me? I can appreciate your art, your craft, you know. I love that LA is a melting pot. I'm glad, you know I carved out I carved out my shit, you know what I mean? Like nobody, there ain't gonna be another Mr. Marcus in this game. Hell yeah, there's some downsides of porn. Hell yeah. I be trying to make it sound like, ooh, cause that's how I live, that's how you survive, man. You gotta just find some humor in all this shit. And things that need to be taken serious, take them serious. And I think that's the flip side with porn, that when you do get into that sexual energy, there's a lot of people that are like not comfortable with theirs or comfortable with yours, and then don't even agree with pornography, you know, at all. And I think even within the industry, it still has a lot of growth to do as far as health issues. Obviously, condoms has been a big thing. STD testing, HIV spreading, you know, bisexuality, crossover performers, underage performers, you know, piracy. You're dealing with piracy when it comes to product, copyright, you know, prostitution, escorting, and you name it. Well, you know, ultimately, you're gonna find shit in everything. What happened to me in the summer of 2012 was really fucked up. It was like a big dip in the road for, you know, my career. And it was right after losing like shit. I lost my sister in 2010. I had the book Porn Star Guide to Great Sex come out in 2010. And I was on this like little wave of like, I had a new office. I had a deal on the table with Vivid Video Distribution. I had a mail enhancement deal that I was getting paid every 2 weeks just to tweet. You know, I had just knocked out a movie, like a mainstream movie. It was like, things were like looking like, okay, cool, we about to Daddy Inc. And then I caught an STD, and I didn't know what the fuck it was. And I was dealing with it in like in a real world like type of situation, but in a professional environment. And you know, the way I handled it was all wrong. I should have been like open. But you really wouldn't have been open because you catch an STD and you're not running around telling everybody. You're just going quietly to the doctors, get your shot, wait. If you're a smart motherfucker, you wait. And I did. I waited. Did the same thing I had done. People that don't know about the porn industry are like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And it's just like, come on, man. I wouldn't have put nobody in jeopardy knowingly. Syphilis was a test that they only tested for twice a year. They added STDs and stuff in around 2003, and they were really late to that because they assumed that if they tested for it, people would be positive and that people were taking care of them on their own. That's the mindset. But they actually started including that in the HIV testing in about 2003, 2004, making that mandatory. Syphilis was something, like I said, they tested twice a year. Now, I ended up catching syphilis, and I didn't know what the symptoms were. I thought it was something that had to do with the amount of stress that I was going under. I put a lot of pressure on myself to take care of my sister's kids, my deal, Vitacord. It was a lot of stupid things going on in my head, expediting that process. So, it was dumb. But I went to my own personal doctor after, my family, because you get these spots on your hand, and after my family said, hey, you should go to the doctor, and I was like, all right. Went to the doctor. The doctor says, I think it's syphilis. I didn't know what the fuck that was. It was the first time I had heard that word when he said that. And he says, but it's okay because it's easily treated and no worries. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Same thing with the gonorrhea chlamydia mindset. So he calls me the next day, did the blood test. Yeah, you got syphilis. Go here, get the shot. So when I got the shot, he said, don't have sex for 7 to 10 days. All right, cool. So I canceled jobs. And, coming up to the 10-day mark, somebody wanted to book me after that. So I was like, well, I'll go get a fresh test, and I should be good because I've been treated and waited time. So I go get this test, and it just so happened it was tested for syphilis. And like I said, only twice a year. So I show up, I get the test, syphilis comes back reactive, and I'm telling the clinician that I've been treated for that. Why is it coming up positive? And come to find out that this test is super sensitive and it reads dead syphilis cells, because that's what the penicillin does. It kills it, but it takes a minute for it to completely out of your system. And this test reads that, whether they're alive or dead, it just reads syphilis. And then my mindset was like, well, shit, I don't have to tell nobody about that because it's not required. This is a private matter. This is something I'm doing. This happened before with gonorrhea. You know what I mean? Nobody made a big deal about that. So, and that's what the thinking was. So, people took it as I was desperate to work. No, I mean, I needed to work, but I canceled jobs and I waited the 10 days. So that pissed me off. People thought that. Then they thought I went out and infected people knowingly. I didn't know shit. I didn't know what the symptoms were. I didn't hear about it. I told people my timeline. I got paperwork to prove that shit. But trying to tell that within this industry, it got turned. And I realized, oh, there's people that, not to give them that credit, but I knew that people didn't like me particularly because of just within the industry, there's people that I open arms with, and there's other people I'm kind of, hey, but it's mutual. You got me? So I think that played into it. The way I handled it was not smart. So I tried to flip it into a positive and say, well, this could happen to anybody. And the way I handled it wasn't right. I shouldn't have altered the test. I shouldn't have tried to pass the test off. The guy I gave the test to, he could have dealt with it privately. He could have came to me directly. But he went to a sworn enemy, a guy who runs an agency. And that guy was like, well, shit, the industry needs to know what Mr. Marcus is capable of. And I understood. I understood what I did and how I handled those things was completely wrong. And I apologized over and over again because I know I'm an example for people. I know that I've set the standard. I know I've been a part of change in this business. I know they motherfuckers hold me to a higher standard. I knew that. And they just drilled it in, man. So I put myself on self-imposed timeout. Started really evaluating who I was as a person and what I want to do differently. How would I come back to the industry and change it for the better? How would I make it safer and make other performers wiser. You know what I mean? So, I just said, okay, well, stay steady and shit. And because I was always about this industry anyways in a positive way. You know what I mean? I admired it, I liked it, I have a lot of friends within it. I know things about this industry that, nobody else does, but they're good things, you know what I mean? That happened, right? And I can't, no matter what happens, I know it happened, and everybody else knows it happened. And what do I want to be after that? Do I want to keep living that shit? Living it? I know better. I was on a boat that sunk and survived that. Got me? So this ain't nothing. And I think for other people out there in the real world who are having sex and catching STDs, I didn't want them to be like, oh, that's the end. No, that ain't the end. I ain't stopped having sex, homeboy. Shit. You know what I mean? Shit. That shit was treated, cured, gone a long time ago. Back to it. I'm sorry it came out like that, but the lesson is in that shit. I mean, maybe it ain't just for me. It's for other people as well. On the flip side of my well-known porn career, that I act like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, like, I'm still in denial and shit. I be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I kind of got into this mentorship. I kind of try to be more of a positivity to people's negativity. I have a family. That counters all the negativity 10 times 10. If I had to give any advice to anybody, this is I tell them, I'd say pray, and I'd say keep your family close, and hard times and haters are going to happen. You feel me? But don't let that shit hurt you, and keep it moving.